Hey, welcome to Think Thursday from the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. Think Thursday is all about your beautiful, brilliant human brain. We're talking neuroscience. We're talking behavior change. We are talking about your mindset. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Hey there, it's Molly, and welcome back to another Think Thursday episode. This is part of the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast, where we step back from alcohol specifically and zoom in on our beautiful, brilliant human brains. And if you're a longtime listener, you're going to hear that my voice is still a little compromised, but hopefully we will make it through the episode. And if you've been listening, even maybe back in June, you might remember I had an episode in Think Thursdays called The Illusion of Starting Over in Habit Change. And in that episode, I talked about why the idea of starting over after a slip, whether it's drinking more than you intended or skipping your journal or any other off plan moment, is actually harmful. Your brain doesn't erase progress when you have an off plan event, when you fall off the plan. You're not back at day one. You're building, you're adapting, you're strengthening and learning from those experiences. And so that is one part of this idea that starting over is something that and people fall into that naturally. We're going to talk about why that happens. Today's episode is all about why starting over in the sense of wiping the clean slate is an illusion, but your brain really does love beginnings. In fact, neuroscience shows us that seasonal resets, like the shift into September, are typically very powerful motivators. And we'll talk about the psychology of temporal landmarks. That's what they call them, temporal landmarks, and what your default mode network is doing in the background, and how we can use the positive energy of a reset without slipping into a cycle of starting over or that negative illusion of having to start from zero. So let's start with why Fresh Start feels motivating in the first place. Back in 2014, researchers Heng-Chen Dai, Catherine Milkman, and Jason Riss coined the term the Fresh Start effect. They found that people are more likely to set goals and pursue them after what they called temporal landmarks. Moments like the start of a new week, the start of a new month, a birthday, or a new season. And I don't know about you, but back to school time really always has felt like a temporal landmark for me. Maybe it was growing up in a household with a superintendent of schools. I'm not sure, but definitely I see it across the board, though. Many people kind of see coming back to school and that reestablishing the habits and the patterns, the routines as a temporal landmark. And these landmarks help us psychologically separate our past self, maybe our summer self, from our present self or our fall, our scheduled, our school self, right? It's like your brain closes one chapter and opens another. And this gives you a sense of freedom, kind of a clean mental slate, and permission to act differently. And think about how January 1st always feels different, right? Even though it's just another day on the calendar. Or how Mondays, like them or not, come with the sense of beginning again. September has that same energy. For many of us, it is connected to those school schedules, and it becomes a natural reset point. So let's use it, right? Let's try to figure out how we can use September as a positive reset for you. Here's the brain science behind why these resets feel so powerful. One of the main networks at work is that default mode network, which we've talked about, the DMN. We've talked about it a few times here on Think Thursday episodes. The DMN is the brain's background system for self reflection. It switches on when your mind wanders, when you're daydreaming, or when you're thinking about yourself in the past or in the possibility of the future. The DMN is like your brain's internal narrator. It stitches together your memories, your goals, and your sense of self into an ongoing life story. Scientists even describe it as kind of a mental hall of mirrors, a simulation of yourself within yourself, which is kind of a cool way to think about it. And here's why that matters for resets. When a temporal landmark like September rolls around, your DMN helps mark the before and the after. It highlights this as a new chapter in your autobiographical narrative. But the DMN isn't actually acting alone. It's part of what neuroscientists call the triple network model. And that includes the DMN, which is the place where reflection and self story are happening. It includes the central executive network, which is where the prefrontal cortex comes in for planning and focus, and the salience network, which acts like a switchboard, shifting your attention between reflection and action or focus. When September shows up, the DMN says, hey, we're in a new chapter. The salience network flags it as important, and the executive network steps in to help you make plans. That's why you suddenly feel motivated to start meal planning again, to start, refreshing your exercise routines, maybe making those doable drink plans. Your brain is literally reorganizing the story. So let's celebrate this, right? We don't need to go against this. We don't need to, just because I've said to you, I don't want you constantly starting over, that doesn't mean we can't capitalize on these moments of reset. It's why I always tell people, like, we don't have to do dry January as, the motivating factor for creating sustainable change. It's a step towards it, but to create sustainable change, you got to keep on going, right? So we use it as a springboard. We want to these resets are powerful because they spark dopamine, which is all about novelty and new beginnings, and it activates that reward system, which gives you that motivational boost. So anytime we have these temporal landmarks, the dopamine system is like, yes, hooray, it's new. It also, these seasonal resets reinforce the narrative identity. Your DMN helps you see life in chapters, and new chapters make it easier to imagine change. So that is a really natural part of the reset of these seasonal resets or temporal landmarks that you want to lean into. It Another positive of seasonal resets is it offers you reflection points. Seasonal shifts give you built-in opportunities to pause, to reassess, and to set intentions. We are wired not just to survive, but to reimagine ourselves over and over and over again. It's part of the beauty of being a beautiful, brilliant human. And I talked about this before in the episode about, the the benefits of self-improvement and why self-improvement a is a is a privilege, right? Seasonal resets are part of how we evolve. Here's where I want to start coming back to the warning from the earlier episode, The Illusion of Starting Over. Resets are helpful when they mean I'm moving into a new chapter. They are harmful when they are used continuously, when you're always having to restart and not just, or you're pushing off the restarting instead of looking for an opportunity in the day to make your next best decision. It's also harmful if they mean that everything I did before is erased, right? That is the illusion. Neuroscience tells us your brain doesn't reset to zero. Every attempt, every misstep, every struggle, every adjustment rewires your circuits through neuroplasticity. it has been shown that each return to your goal actually strengthens emotional regulation and decision making pathways. I talked about it from Jo Boaler and her work on the limitless mind, and how people that struggle actually learn things better than people that don't. So we want to understand that starting, having a reset doesn't mean that you're starting over in any negative sort of way. Use the energy of September. But remember, you're not back at day one. You're continuing forward, and you're carrying everything that you've already learned. Now, here are 3 ways to use September resets positively. Number 1, frame it as a continuation with renewal. Say, I'm beginning a new chapter, bringing all my progress with me, instead of I'm starting over. In fact, I love that for even Mondays, for even next month, when people oftentimes they say, I'm going to wait until Monday. Now, of course, I tell you, don't wait until Monday to start. Just start, right away. Look for your very next best choice. Elizabeth Benton says it. It's one of my favorite phrases. Every choice is a chance to vote for who I am becoming. And I want you to remember that. You don't need to wait until next week, next day, next anything. Just start right then. But every time that you do start again, say, I'm starting a new chapter and I'm bringing all my progress with me, not I'm starting over. Number 2, anchor to identity, not perfection, right? As habit researcher Wendy Wood reminds us, almost half of our daily behaviors are habitual. Focus on identity statements like, I'm someone who experiments with healthier routines, rather than rigid goals. I love the idea of experimenting, of trying things, of practicing, and building a practice of being someone who has a healthier routine. Number 3, make a micro move right now. I just said it. Don't wait for Monday. If the season inspires you, act today, even if it's just one small step. Kristen Neff's work on self-compassion shows us that kind, flexible action is far more sustainable than shame-driven motivation. And that's why that, I'll wait for Monday. You start to implode on Friday night and you say to yourself, oh, whatever, screw it, I blew it, I'll just start again on Monday. Kind of gives you permission to slide even further down the slope on Saturday and Sunday. You don't need to do that. You can look for a micro move right now. Here's the bottom line. Your brain loves fresh starts because it loves stories. The default mode network is always writing and rewriting your narrative. Temporal landmarks like September are invitations to say, that was then, this is now, what's the next chapter I want to create? It's not a restart, it's not a day one, it's a continuation with renewal. That's how I want us to think about it. So as you step into this season, I invite you to ask yourself, what story do I want this chapter of my life to tell? Remember, the brain's love of starting over isn't about erasing what came before. It's about using natural rhythms to realign with who we are becoming. That's all I have for you this week, my friends. Until next time, choose peace, and I will see you on Monday.